Hey, welcome back to the Garden Cardigan Knit Along. I'm Jana with Purl together. In this week's video, we're going to be talking about how we're going to join the front, both sides of the front and the back, and then cast on for the underarms and join. So all we have to do is go back and forth for the rest of the body. So that's going to take a while because on my size, for example, there's several hundred stitches, and that's going to take a bit. So I think what I'll do is show you just the joining part today, and then we'll talk about the tubular cast on that we'll use for the 1x1 ribbing at the bottom of the sweater. We'll talk about that next time rather than trying to put all that together, because at least for me, it's going to take me probably the rest of the week and into next week to knit the body of the sweater, just because I have a lot of other things going on right now. I'm still making tomato sauce and salsa. So this week's video might be a little shorter as far as techniques go, and I'm just going to show you how I'm doing the joining. All right, let's get to it. I have just finished knitting the left front, and I have double checked that my row count and inches both match up with the right front, so that's good. So now I have ended on row 4 of the row repeater. I've ended on row 4 on both sides. So I just have an extra set of needles here holding this rather than waste yarn. So that worked for me. So rather than breaking the yarn, we're just going to begin again now with the right side facing, and this is the left front. We're just going to do the joining round now, and beginning with row 1 of the stitch pattern, or what's very similar, we're going to make sure that we're starting off in pattern, doing our I-cord edge, which I just love an I-cord edge. It just seems, I don't know, for me it just seems so much neater and more tidy than than like a garter stitch edge. I just really, really like it. We're just going to go across the front of this left front just like normal, keeping in pattern as we have been. And now the pattern instructs us to cast on either a couple of stitches or a whole bunch of stitches, depending on the size that you're using. So you have a couple of choices here. In the pattern, there is a link to special techniques that the designer has YouTube for. I'm going to choose to use the cable cast on, and I do it from the opposite side. So the video that the designer has explains how to do that with the right side of your work facing you, and that's cool. So I would encourage you to use the link at the beginning of the pattern to the special techniques page on Ravelry and go check that out. For a cable cast on in the middle of the work, which is what we're going to do. But I find it easier to just turn my work over, and then we're going to do a cable cast on from the back side. So I'm just going to insert my right hand needle between the last 2 stitches and wrap as if to knit. Pull that through, and then you just take the tip of your needle forward and go ahead and put that right on there. So that's 1. Again, you put the needle tip between the last 2 stitches, wrap and pull that through like you're knitting a knit stitch. Swing your right hand needle to the back and put that stitch right on your left. Then I go ahead and carry on doing that for the prescribed number of stitches. So you can kind of get yourself in a little rhythm with that. And if you put your right hand needle in there before you pull this snug, then your cast on will be the correct, it won't be too tight is the point, because you're mitigating that by putting this in there, and you're controlling how tight you pull that down. So I have a separate video just for this cast on that I'll link in the description down below if you need to watch this a little more slowly. All right, now we are ready to flip over to the back stitches, which I have here. So I'm just going to remove my stopper here and put my needle back on. And if you used waste yarn, go ahead and take a moment to pick up all those stitches and put them back on the needles, or if you have a barber cord or whatever it is. So adding these stitches here, this is going to become the armhole. So we've just added a bunch of stitches underneath that will make the armhole a little bigger. Okay, this is where we broke the yarn, so I'm just going to secure that and carry on with my pattern. So we're on page 5, joining front and back. So I left a long enough tail where I can just provide some tension here. And then we're just going to carry on across the back in pattern. So as you're doing this, you can see why it was important to end your row sequence on the same row on all 4 pieces, right and left front, and then 4 pieces, all 3 pieces, the right and left front, and also the back. So that right now I'm on essentially what is row 1 of that 4-row repeat all the way around. All right, I have reached the end of the back panel, and now we're just going to do the same thing. You're going to cable cast on a number, whatever number of stitches the pattern recommends for you. So again, I'm going to turn my work over, and you can do this from the front side if you want to watch the designer's video. You can absolutely do that. I'm just choosing to do this the way is more comfortable for me, and it's under the arm. So seeing either side of this cable cast on, I don't think is a crisis either way, but you do what you feel is best. Okay, same thing. Now I'm attaching the right front, and I was just using this other needle which is a size 6, just as basically a stitch holder. So even though it is not the same size as my working needle, it doesn't really matter because the working needle obviously is what you wrap, and that determines the size of the stitch. So this is just something to knit off of. And again, I'm going to grab a hold of my tail and keep some tension on that first stitch so it's not wonky. All right, now we have everything joined up in one round, and I'm going to double check my stitch count. Now that we have everything joined together, this next row is a wrong side row, and we're going to do it just like we have been all along with all of our different panels previously. So be sure to double check your stitch count, because now is probably when you could add or subtract or fudge things if you needed to. But since we're working in pattern, it should become apparent really clear if something is amiss. Okay, fantastic. Now our work is all joined up, and we're ready to just continue going back and forth in pattern just as we have been for quite a long time. So now you'll notice what I was mentioning with the joining row was essentially row 1 of our previous row repeat, and then coming back was just purling back across. However, now because of the way the pattern is written, your new row 1 will be what used to be row 3. So okay, so mine is looking great. I love how it's looking, and if you have a long enough cable and some stitch stoppers, I'll show you what this says. Hold on, let me overthink this. I am definitely an overthinker, and shout out to the dear friend who gave me these, who knows me well. Love it. I'm digging it, and now it's just a lot of back and forthing and Netflix. Let's see. I know this came out a long time ago, but I am watching Scandal that was created by Shonda Rhimes, you know, the creator of ER and a whole bunch of other good shows. I just never watched it. I thought it was not my jam, and I ran across it again, and I think the first season came out in 2017. Kind of finding some older shows that I'm enjoying. Also, I have never watched The West Wing. I don't know how that passed me by. I'm watching that too. And besides tomato sauce, the other thing that's been keeping me busy lately is this little nugget. Hi, baby. He is a barn baby rescue, and if you're a patron, you know the story, or a channel member. Anyway, short version. If you want the long version, become a patron, and you can watch the video I made last week. The short version for the rest of you is that he wasn't doing well. He was in the barn, and now he's been inside for about a week. And this week's patron-only video will be all about how he got his name. So if you're interested in that, sign up to be a channel member for $3 a month or a patron and have access to members-only content. And if you're not a cat person and you don't care, that's fine too. But he's doing great. He's just a little nugget. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for the tubular bind off after we do the 1x1 rib.